You can do it! That was really bad. Anyway, we need to restart now, so let's go ahead and restart now. Can't restart later, gotta restart now! Good day folks, Jordan here, and welcome to another software overview video. That was really sloppy. Good day folks, Jordan here, and welcome to another software overview video. Today we're looking at Ubuntu 11.04 Natty Narwahl, which was released on the 28th of April 2011. It was oddly announced on the 17th of August 2010, probably by Mark Shuttleworth. Don't know why they introduced new distros far ahead of their actual release date. I guess they're hyping up Unity, I don't know. Anyway, that was what was noted, so that's what is there. Now, this was the most controversial release of Ubuntu to date, as there was quite a significant change to the desktop environment. Now, up until 10.10, and ever since the release date of Ubuntu, actually since the 4.10 days, they were actually using the GNOME or GNOME desktop environment as the default. Now, I'm pretty sure you can install some other ones on top of Ubuntu if you were, so desired to do so, but GNOME or GNOME was the default. And that was what was used as your main desktop environment. However, in 11.04, they actually changed it to the Unity desktop environment as the default, but they didn't remove it. However, that change was quite controversial, as a lot of GNOME developers got a little fed up and kind of worried about the future of Ubuntu switching desktop environments because they'd used GNOME for so long. That's what Ubuntu was known for. However, again, GNOME was not removed. It was just set as a fallback to just in case Unity didn't work. And as you'll soon see, that was quite the little design change, because I'm pretty sure that if they hadn't done that, there'd be a lot more FLAC and not the audio file format. But besides that, Ubuntu 11.04 went on as it was. Now, I suppose the reason why they made Unity the default was because they merged the netbook edition of Ubuntu with the standard desktop release, and so there was no point in having two separate releases and thus having two separate desktop environments. So you just will have the best of both worlds, I suppose, which was, something that Canonical was probably doing. I don't know. But anyway, that's just my thought process on that stuff. There was actually quite a lot going for Ubuntu 11.04 besides the Unity desktop environment, which again was received with mixed reception. We'll get into some reception here in a little bit. Some notable differences were Firefox 4. I remember when Firefox 4 came out, it was a big deal with the user interface revamp. I thought that was pretty nifty. I remember back in the day when Firefox 4 came out back in 2011, and at the time I think I was running Windows XP, and I remember when that new user interface came up when I updated from 3.6 to version 4, and it was quite the difference. It was quite the difference. And then, of course, after that, they went on their rapid release schedule, kind of like what Google Chrome does, and then version 5 came out, and then version 6 came out, and then they're on this big rapid release schedule to try to patch security bugs and whatnot. And then I think it was in version 28 they revamped the user interface again. I want to say it was 28, it could have been 29, I don't remember which version it was, but they overhauled the user interface, made it look more like Google Chrome, and then I think it was version 57, which was the release of Firefox Quantum. I believe it was 57, it could have been 56, I don't remember. Anyway, then they revamped it yet again. But I actually much prefer Quantum over the previous releases. It's just way, way better than it ever has been. But anyway, I'm rambling and getting off topic. But yeah, Firefox 4 was quite a big deal back when it was introduced, because it had that new user interface. So yeah, that was just a little bit of a nostalgia trip, because I remember those days. OpenOffice was actually replaced with an open source alternative known as LibreOffice. Now, of course, OpenOffice was open source, but LibreOffice was a more regularly updated Office suite compared to the OpenOffice suite, and that still holds true today. Oracle really doesn't update OpenOffice all that much. In fact, I think Oracle actually sold it off to Apache, and I think it's now just called Apache OpenOffice, and it's kind of just been abandoned ever since then. And so a lot of people nowadays, if they just want an OpenOffice suite, they just use LibreOffice or they use something else. I mean, OpenOffice is still technically used and is still technically supported. It's just not as updated as you would expect it to be. It's not as regularly updated also as you would expect it to be, so that's definitely something that you have to keep in mind. A new cloud computing platform known as OpenStack was added, And I don't know what that actually did. I believe that was some kind of cloud thing that you can develop, and I don't know what all it does in particular. I just know that it was added into the operating system. And other than that, I suppose there's probably new drivers, there's probably some new user interface things. In fact, on the website here, which we'll take a look at briefly, you can see they advertise it on a Dell Vostro laptop. And as you can see, there's that new Unity desktop environment that they're advertising. And let's just briefly check this out. It advertises it's compatible with all your devices. It's also your PC your way, and keep that new computer feeling. This is probably when a bunch of Linux nerds decided to start doing those news articles of
Linux is faster than Windows, and
honestly, I mean, that was a big deal back in the day when they started doing that stuff. And there you can see they mentioned the new look and feel for Ubuntu with the Unity desktop environment. And they also advertise more features such as the cloud and Ubuntu One. So there you go. So that's all I wanted to check out with this website. It's literally nothing exciting. So with that having been shown, let's get on to the operating system itself. Yes, I know I'm probably getting a little bit lazy when it comes to my virtual machine library, but I'll clean it up in the next video, I promise. Anyway, so let's go ahead and start this up. Now, I've given this a little bit more specification than what I would normally do. I figure the Unity desktop environment will work on a virtual machine, and hopefully it doesn't trigger GNOME. However, when you're using the live environment, as you'll soon see, it'll actually use GNOME as the default. And once this starts up here, then you'll see what I mean. I was going to go see if Unity would work on the live environment, but it seems like the live environment defaults to using GNOME as a fallback method for probably compatibility reasons. So I suppose we'll probably have to install it first before we can actually check out the desktop environment. And once again, as you can see, it's booting in text mode. So let's go ahead and go full screen here. Thankfully, and this is the nice thing, not just the error with the system bus and the fact it goes out to text mode, the resolution is higher. Finally! It uses, I would guess 1024 by 768, because 800 by 600 is getting quite old as a low resolution thing. So thank God they changed it. So I suppose at this point in time, let's go ahead and just jump straight into the installation process. And interestingly, the storage requirement jumped up quite considerably with this new release, going to 4.6 gigabytes compared to the last release, which you can see there on the screen, that requirement. Quite a big increase. I don't know if it's got something to do with the fact that Unity comes pre-installed or what. I don't really know. They also changed this screen and made it look a little bit prettier instead of having the plain text, which kind of made it feel like Ubuntu 10.04 once again with no imagery of anything. I don't know why Ubuntu decided to do that. That's just weird, where they have like no images to obviously show you what's going on. It's like it's a pre-release or something, but I like this look a little bit better. Of course, nowadays it's obviously a lot more streamlined and simplified, but you know how it is. Okay, so since this installs in the background, we're going to have to jump straight into this and get the information filled out as quickly as we can to get as much into the slideshow as we can before this finishes installing, because it's probably going to go really quickly. So come on. Let's go, installation utility. You can do it! That was really bad. Come on. Let's go. Almost finished copying files. We might not actually get to the slideshow. Come on. You can do it. Also, what's up with that progress bar glitching the way that it's doing? That's really annoying. Honestly.
Okay, Los Angeles, let's go. Go, keyboard. Do the computer name, change password, I don't know. Just get ahead so you can get to the slideshow.
Ubuntu is packed with features to make your computer delightful to use. This version includes the Unity desktop interface, a brand new way to find and manage your applications. We'd like to show some cool things to look for in your new operating system. Ubuntu Software Center has thousands of applications ready for your computer. Just type what you want, blah blah blah. Shotwell, we already looked at that. All users get a free Ubuntu One account. There's that old Android phone again, jeez. That thing really looks old, but I suppose that's probably what they had back in the day. Ubuntu comes with the amazing Banshee music player. With advanced playback options in the Ubuntu One music store built in, it's simple to queue up the perfect songs. I believe that was also another change, was they switched the music player once again to Banshee instead of using what was known as Rhythm Box. I believe that was another change in the operating system. Email and chat with empathy and evolution, supported Skype. There's the social media thingamajig. There's Firefox 4, which we'll check out here in a little bit. There's LibreOffice and customizability with backgrounds and such. And thanks again for choosing Ubuntu. Ubuntu is designed to be easy and safe, so don't hesitate to explore. If you have any questions, try the help menu in most applications or browse to ubuntu.com/support to explore your other options. We hope you enjoy Ubuntu. And it just loops back around until the installation process is finished. So, that's pretty nice, I suppose. At least it gives you the option to look through the slideshow. Anyway, we need to restart now, so let's go ahead and restart now. Can't restart later, gotta restart now! And one nice thing, I remember all the time inside of virtual machines when it would glitch the interface out and you wouldn't know what's going on, so you just, it's just a guess that you'd have to press enter. Well, now it just goes out to text mode and does it, which is nice. So all we gotta do now is just press enter again, and it should now restart, as you can see. So, very nice. And now, as you can see, on the bootloader screen it goes purple. That was another difference between 10.10 and 11.04. And in fact, modern day Ubuntu does this too. It goes to a purple screen on the bootloader, and then it goes black again, and then it started up so ridiculously quickly. But anyway, then it would show the Ubuntu logo on startup, and then start up normally. So anyway, I now have a different password set, so now we can go ahead and start this up. Oh no! It seems you do not have the hardware required to run Unity. Please choose Ubuntu Classic at the login screen and you will be using the traditional environment. And I like the old style of interface here. That's just funny. So anyway, as you can see, yep, it falls back to using GNOME. Because we don't actually have the hardware accelerated video required to run Unity, it just goes to a fallback method. Nowadays, in modern Ubuntu, I believe what they just do is render everything using the CPU, so even though it will show Unity, it would be rather slow. So I don't know whether this would be better or just having Unity with really reduced performance would be better. I don't really know. So given that, I'm actually going to go ahead and try doing VMware Tools. If I can't get this to work, and presumably I'm not going to be able to get it to work, but if I do get it to work, then I won't bother with an actual computer. But if I do have to install this on an actual computer, well, God help me, I suppose, because it's going to suck. But let's go ahead and let's try to do this here. So we need to go up to the terminal, which is going to be underneath accessories. And then we're going to have to figure this out the hard way. So let me see if I can get VMware Tools installed off screen. And if I do, I will be back. If not, well, you'll see me with a real camera and a real computer installing Ubuntu 11.04. So, crossing my fingers, let's see what happens. And, well, you'll obviously see the verdict in the next clip, thanks to the magic of video editing. Okay, this looks like a good sign. We actually have some installation progress. I believe 11.04 is the absolute minimum you have to have in order for modern VMware Tools, or at least in Fusion 10, in order to work. So I hope this works when I restart. I'm going to go ahead and just do a full restart, but I hope this is going to work. Already a good sign, we see the graphical splash screen, so that's already a good sign. Okay, there's the purple. I don't think it's going to show the startup screen necessarily, because it just starts up so fast on this MacBook Pro. But at least we saw the shutdown screen graphically, which we didn't see before. It just went back out to text mode. Ooh, we got some fade effects. I don't know if those were already there before. But it looks like, okay, there's Ubuntu. So let's set that and let's try logging in. Okay, well it changed the resolution. That's a good sign. Okay, so it's still starting in Ubuntu Classic. But the good news is we have acceleration. So now I almost wonder if we can actually get Unity to start up here. So let's go ahead and log out, and let's see if we can, let's see, get out of here. I want to do log out. Let's see if I can get it to start with the standard Ubuntu desktop environment. It might not let me given VMware Tools' limitation, but let's just try Ubuntu safe mode, and let's see if we can get Unity to work here. It's still not working. Well, that sucks. I really wanted to get Ubuntu Ubuntu Unity to work, but it looks like I'm going to have to try it on actual hardware, which is a bit of a bummer. Okay, so I guess what we're going to have to do is bust out a real computer and get it a try on a real computer. Which sucks because I didn't want to have to drag one out, but it looks like I'm going to have to, so let me dig out my ThinkPad T43 and let's give it a go on that, which I hope it works. I can't obviously do the 64-bit, I'm going to have to do 32-bit, I'm going to have to download a 32-bit image, but whatever. It's for the fans, it's for the video. So I will be right back once I have a USB stick made, and we'll get on with the video. Alright, here we are in Unity in Ubuntu 11.04. Of course, I'm using this IBM ThinkPad T43 to do it today since the graphics adapter is compatible at least enough to where it'll run Unity. Probably not the greatest machine to do this with since this is a Pentium M from 2005, but it should do at least enough to do something. Now, as I shown previously in my video here, we only have GNOME on VMware, so I'm going to use this as a little bit of a comparison point while I'm showing off Unity so that we can all see the major differences between the older UI of GNOME versus the new Unity, or at least new as in trying to be the better version of the interface. So, first of which, of course, you'll notice is the sidebar is a little different because instead of having a sort of pinned apps category thing amongst the top, you have it on the side now. And there's no longer a traditional menu bar, it just has a status tray with a bunch of useful icons in it, which are still in Ubuntu 11.04 in the GNOME interface, but obviously there's a little more, information. Oh, I guess it's actually the same information now that I think about it. Anyway, one of the biggest changes was made to how you launched applications. As you can see in GNOME, which is the very familiar UI that a lot of Ubuntu users were used to, you can see that there's the traditional GNOME menu. But in Unity, it was a little bit different. Instead of having all your apps in one area, it was mainly a search field, and it had frequently used applications up front and center. And then a lot of them are categorized into categories like, as you can see here, media apps, internet apps, and then more apps. So as you can see, with the GNOME interface, you get what you get, which is what's installed in that category. The same thing applies basically on Unity, but as you can see, there's an extra row of apps that it says are available for download, and this is just what it suggests. So you get things like PuTTY, and then Network Manager, and FTP, and so on and so forth, which of course is not in GNOME. So obviously you can see there's a lot more going on here, a little more involved. One of the big negatives of Unity when it first came out was how it organized all your apps. As you can see, if you just wanted an all applications view, well, of course, that's not traditionally available in GNOME, but you can always find a list of all the applications installed on the system pretty easily enough. But in this case, you had to go into this app launcher thing, select all applications, and then, yes, there's a most frequently used thing, which is very convenient to have, although you can configure that in GNOME already. But you had to click on the installed section to view all of your applications, and then they were just in an alphabetical list. I know this machine is really not meant to run Unity, but it's barely pulling it through, so bear with me on this. But yeah, you can see it's just an endless scrolling list of uncategorized applications. So that was probably one of the biggest drawbacks when it came to Unity, was the way it organized the applications in the menu comparative to GNOME. Of course, that was improved in future versions of Unity, especially nowadays, where by default, when you go into the menu, everything just shows itself by default in the alphabetical endless scrolling list automatically, and not this weird category thing. And the search field still exists too. One of the biggest drawbacks to Unity was the way it handled menu bars. So taking a look back at GNOME here on the MacBook Pro, you can see how even with this window that is maximized, you can still see that the menus are visible for the end user, and they're easily clickable just as before. However, on Unity, they changed this, and they no longer do it this way, thank goodness, because it was kind of annoying. But in order to access the hidden menus, because now you can see there's no title bar, it's integrated up into the status tray, you have to move your mouse up there, and then voila, there's the menu. So a lot of people griped about this because where's the menu bar when the window's maximized? Because when the window's normal, you can see Well, even in this case in Firefox, the menu is still up here in the title bar until you hover over it. So yeah, that was one of the biggest gripes of Unity, was if a developer had the menu up there, a lot of people didn't know where the menu was, and so they had to learn that that was where it was. Whereas before, obviously, the menu bar was inside of the application window, independent from everything else. And of course, this really is confusing. So yeah. Anyway, as you can see, this launched with Firefox 4, which is what 11.04 shipped with. So very nice there. And I believe one application that doesn't do the menu bar in the title or in the status tray is LibreOffice here. As you can see, it has its own title bar. Well, it has its own title bar technically, yes, but the menu is not up in the heading. So even if you were to maximize this, you can see that if I hover the mouse over the title here, you can see there's no menus. It's all visible. In terms of LibreOffice, this is running LibreOffice 3.3.2 from 2010. So that's nice to see. There's a couple other things that are in the Unity desktop environment I believe that you could probably look at. For example, the settings. We can check that out because that's obviously much different comparative to the way that the system settings are organized in GNOME. So if I close out of Firefox here on GNOME, and then all your preferences and system administrative options, as well as annoying Discord notifications, are all in these menus and scattered out across the user interface. So one of the big improvements was this control center in Unity, and this is very much appreciated. Trying to search through all these different menus to try to find the option you want, where you could just put them all into one application and get to them with just a search. So this was one of the improvements that was in Unity that was much appreciated, was just having everything here in one spot, including things like the additional drivers thing, which isn't normally in the preferences. You have to go to administration and then additional drivers. So that was one thing that a lot of people didn't know where it was, so it made it a little bit confusing. And I believe one of the big ones was, which one was it? A lot of the passwords and stuff, they didn't know where that was, Ubuntu 1 login stuff. So everything was just put into one great big panel, kind of like the Windows control panel or the Mac OS system preferences, if you know what I mean. Basically, Ubuntu caught up in that regard. Of course, the traditional software center still exists with just the one panel, and obviously not very exciting, but it is still there nonetheless. The one thing I wanted to explore, though, was the Ubuntu 1 option in the pinned apps. As you can see, here's Ubuntu 1's control panel. I believe you could access this from the control center inside of, the system preferences or whatever, but this is its own separate application. I actually wonder where this would be located in GNOME. I'll just take a quick gander here. I think it's under system preferences and then Ubuntu 1. You have to go all the way down here, and then it brings up the same thing. But anyway, as you can see, it talks about the Ubuntu 1 service, about how you get 2 gigs of free storage, and how you can stay productive, keep connected, and rock out and have your files anywhere. Basically a glorified iCloud or a glorified OneDrive. Well, at the time it was probably SkyDrive, so I have to use the term from the era. But iCloud was existent back in the day, although I don't know if it came out before or after this, but I think at that time it was still called MobileMe. I can't remember. It's been too long. But anyway, so let's see if we can join now, just for kicks and giggles. Oh, is it actually trying to load the CAPTCHA? That'd be funny if that actually still kind of works. But anyway, so nowadays they refer to this as an Ubuntu single sign-on account, in addition to being also referenced as Ubuntu 1. So, yeah. It doesn't seem like the CAPTCHA is actually going to work. I'm not sure if that's the internet that's being slow or if that's just too old to work. But let me see about it on the MacBook Pro here. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's actually working. I almost wonder, and I'm not going to do it in this video, but I almost wonder if you were to actually still be able to sign into Ubuntu 1 here on 11.04. It's certainly possible, but I don't really know myself. So I'm going to let this vent for a bit. It's pretty warm. Do not leave laptops on the bed like this. They will overheat. I'm a local Jordan. I'm a professional idiot. So don't mind me trying to suicide my ThinkPad T43. Here's one last example of an application who has their menu bar stuck up in the status tray. This is PyTV or PyTV video editor. And as you can see, I put my mouse up there, and that's where it exposes the menu bar. What version of PyTV is this? They're on 0.13.5. Nice. Again, I'm not even going to try to begin to use this to edit video, but it's there. It probably worked back in the day, so that's cool. And I think, other than what I've already showed and talked about previously in the video, I think that's about it with regards to Unity on Ubuntu 11.04. It was a step towards the right direction for the Ubuntu default user interface, but obviously this is a very early version of it, and by no means was it perfect. Of course, the menu bar being in the status tray, that was a huge complaint from back in the day when this first came out. Another thing was a lot of computers couldn't run Unity, so they were stuck in GNOME anyway, in the case of VMware, which emulates older hardware, of course. And, well, this thing just barely runs Unity to begin with. It's pretty dang slow. It does work, but it's pretty slow. I guess it was to be expected for a 6-year-old computer at the time to not be able to run Unity that well. And that's the case with this thing having only a Radeon X300 in it. So, I mean, it worked for the time, but by no means was it perfect. So, well, I think with that having been said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. It's already long enough. So, with that having been said, I think I will go ahead and say the familiar thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.